Hello viewers, welcome back to our channel Low Point. This is Anisha Babu. In our previous two sessions, we discussed about Hindu succession. Today, we are dealing with frequently asked question on this topic. We have a Supreme Court of India's advocate on record, Mrs. Praseena Elizabeth Joseph, to clear our queries. So let's move on to our first question. The 2005 Amendment to Hindu Succession Act states that a daughter has equal right of inheritance as that of a son. So, is this amendment applicable only to those daughters who were born in or after 2005, the year of passing of the amendment, or is it applicable also to those daughters who were born before 2005?
I think to better understand the answer, it is important to know the significance of two dates under the 2005 amendment. The first one is 20th December 2004 and the second one is 9th September 2005. First we'll talk about the earlier date, that is 20th December 2004. Past transactions like the properties which are partitioned or attained finality in succession before 20th December 2004 cannot be reopened or questioned by the daughters claiming their equal right. However, if there is any property which is not yet partitioned or oral partition not supported by any public document, or where partition is pending before court, as on 20th December 2004, the woman can file a petition and can claim her equal right of inheritance. Now, coming to the second date, that is 9 September 2005. From this date, all transactions have to mandatorily give equal right of inheritance to daughters as that of a son. There was a confusion as to whether this equal right of inheritance is available to daughters who were born before 9 September 2005. And another confusion was whether this right of inheritance is available to daughters whose father passed away before 9 September 2005. Clearing this confusion, the Honorable Supreme Court in Vinita Sharma versus Rakesh Sharma decided in the year 2020 held that the woman's equal right of inheritance is available to a woman from the year 9 September 2005, irrespective whether she was born before or on or after 9 September 2005 or where her father died before 9 September 2005 or after 9 September 2005.
Moving on to our next question. As per the Hindu Succession Act, what is the difference in the rules of property inheritance when a person passes away before the deceased and when a person passes away after the deceased?
If a person passes away before the deceased, then he or she does not have any right to deceased property because he or she was not alive as on the date of death of the deceased. However, if a person passes away after the deceased, then he or she becomes entitled to inherit the share of deceased property. For example, if a bachelor has two siblings, of which sister passed away previously and after that bachelor also passes away. In this case, only bachelor's surviving brother would get full rights to bachelor's property because the sister passed away before the bachelor. Second example is if the sister passes away after 2 months of the death of the bachelor, then in this case, whatever property the sister inherited from her bachelor brother will pass on to her legal heirs after her death.
So let's move on to our next question. Can a son-in-law and a daughter-in-law inherit the property of the deceased father-in-law?
The rule is different depending on whether we are talking about the daughter-in-law or the son-in-law. In case of daughter-in-law, she can claim inheritance of her deceased father-in-law's property only if her husband has passed away before the death of her father-in-law and she is now a widow of his son. However, when it comes to the son-in-law, he cannot inherit the property of the deceased father-in-law under any circumstances.
So let's move on to a final question. How to determine which of the properties of the deceased are self-acquired and which are ancestral?
Here we will compare both ancestral and self-acquired property with important details. The first point is any property which is 4 generations old, that is grandfather, father, son, grandson, that is called ancestral property. On the other hand, any property which has been acquired by the deceased with his own merit and persistence is called a self-acquired property. Further, any property received by the deceased from a will or a gift, they are again self-acquired property of the deceased. The second point is, in ancestral property, the property should not have been divided by co-partners in the joint Hindu family. Once the ancestral property is divided, it becomes a self-acquired property in the hands of a family member who has received it. It is interesting to understand that a self-acquired property can again become ancestral property if the property is not yet partitioned and enjoyed in common. Now, the third point is, a right to a share in ancestral property accrues by birth. That means ancestral property can be claimed during the lifetime of the co-partners. Whereas right to a share in self-acquired property to a legal heir arises only after the death of the owner. Now, the fourth point is, the right in ancestral property is determined per stripes and not per capita. For example, if a father has 3 sons, each son will get 1/3 share. And if one son dies, the remaining 2 brothers still have 1/3 share only, and the 1/3 share of the deceased brother will go to his legal heirs. Whereas right in a self-acquired property is determined per capita and not by per stripes. We will take the same example. The father has 3 sons, each one will get 1/3, and if one son dies, then the remaining 2 sons will share equally the 1/3 share of the deceased son, and the deceased son's legal heirs will not get anything. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. See you next week with Muslim succession law. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.